If you saw my last video, you know there are great American V8 cars for under 10 grand. If you can raise your budget closer to 20K though, the extra car you can get for your money is definitely worth it. Even if you have to save your money in some unconventional ways.
You can't take it! Yes, I can. Let go! I have to have it!
Well, for when you've got the cash, here are the 10 best American V8s you can get for under 20 grand. Let's get into it. Let me know what videos you want to see for a shout out and the best deals you've gotten for a car like these. Lightly tenderizing the like and subscribe buttons like a 2-pound slab of chicken is always super cool, and just so everyone knows my typical car info disclaimer.
All prices are averages for mainly private sale or sometimes dealership listings in my general area with under 100 or 120K miles, no accidents, clean titles, and in good condition. Prices vary based on location, and these are in a random order, so don't try skipping to the final car or Doug DeMuro will come to your house and take all your valves while you sleep.
Now, starting off with a really strong number 1, it's the C5 Corvette made between 97 and 04. This is the second oldest car here, so don't start thinking these will all be pre-2000s cars with popsicle stick interiors. These had LS1 engines at first, but starting in 01, they had LS6s instead. Both engines are reliable though, and both make around 350 horsepower and 350 to 360 pound-feet of torque. I've seen some people say you can get a C5 Z06 for 20K, but I wasn't seeing anything like that around me, and I'm not really sure if I believe it too much, unless you get lucky. And these might seem like a great deal for 12 to 17K, although hopefully these prices go down in the future because I'd kind of like to find one for myself. But the real reason why these needed to be on this list is they're one of the 2 final cars with pop-up headlights. Next up is another popular one, and it's the 2010 to 14 Mustang GTs, which seem to cost between 16 and 22,000 bucks. Actually though, these are a terrible choice. Just look at that sexy, stupid rear end. The 2010s had horrible 3-valve 4.6s, and after that they had the god-awful 5-liter Coyotes making only a little over 400 horsepower. The ones at the lower end of the price range will mostly be automatics, but it is still possible to find cheaper manuals too. But if you are considering one of these, just don't. And tell everyone you see selling one to lower the asking price because it's too high. And if you own one yourself, especially if it's a gross, clean title, 2011 or 12, race red, manual coupe with a Boss 302 front bumper and under 100,000 miles, I would be willing to take it off your hands immediately for $5,000, since I really just feel so sorry for you having to walk out into your driveway every morning just to see that car and say,
that is one big pile of shit.
in all seriousness though, you could also get a really clean 05 to 09 Mustang GT for around the same price as a not so great facelifted S197, but that all comes down to preference. Now for number 3, it's the Dodge Charger RTs and Chrysler 300Cs. These two are pretty much the same car, so I figured I'd group them together. They have the classic 5.7 liter Hemis making 340 to 370 horsepower, with the Chargers seeming to cost as low as 13K and the 300s as low as 12K. These were in my last video too, but since they spanned so many years, having an extra 10 grand can help you get something newer with fewer miles, facelifted, and in better shape. The SRT8 versions of these aren't that far off either, especially the 300s, and at times there even seems to be a slight pricing overlap with the RTs. I'm not sure what the in-person condition would be like for listings like those though. You just never really know what you'll find on Facebook Marketplace, like the whoa.
What in the goddamn?
Next is another sedan, and it's the Gen 1 Cadillac CTS-Vs, which have either LS6 or LS2 engines depending on the year. They make around 400 horsepower and torque, and on forums seem to be tied with C5s and Mustangs as the most popular answer for a V8 under 20 grand. They're not really anything crazy when it comes to looks, and despite the way lower price, I feel like they're still overshadowed by the more popular Gen 2 or Gen 3 Vs, but costing around 16 to 20K, these do seem like decent deals. There's also the similar STS-V with the supercharged Northstar V8, and for anyone about to bring up the Northstar problems, these are from after 05, so the issues they're known for were mainly fixed. Still though, the CTS-Vs are more common, should be easier to work on, were offered as both autos and manuals, while the STSs were only automatics, and you'd have an LS, so someday you'd be sitting around 400,000 miles, still punching at full throttle, like... And for number 5, we've got the 5th gen Camaro SS, which came with either an LS3 V8 in the manuals or an L99 in the autos, which is basically just a tweaked LS3. Prices seem to have not increased as much as other cars like the Mustangs or C5s for some reason, which is strange, but I guess pretty cool. I really like the looks of these, and I'd absolutely go for a manual in one, but I'd have to swap out that shift knob before even getting the car home after buying it. The manuals make a little more power than the autos, and the L99 in the automatics has cylinder deactivation. Because of how bad I've heard using the deactivation is for pre-2010-ish GM cars though, I'd pass on the slightly better highway fuel economy to not get in my car the next week and be like, and for another LS mobile, next is the 04 to 06 GTO, which seems to cost between 16 and 20 grand. The 04s are usually cheaper because those had LS1s making 350 horsepower, and the later years had LS2s making 400. These are also not overly common, but for a lot of people, it's always cool to see one on the road or at a meet. Especially for clean LS2 GTOs, I wouldn't be surprised if prices don't end up falling much more, so if you were a kid when these came out and wanted to save up and comfortably buy one for 10K, you might need to wait longer and keep saving.
I did my waiting! 12 years of it!
Next is the 08 to 24 Challenger RT, which has a 5.7 liter Hemi V8 making 340 to 375 horsepower. If you saw these or the Chargers and immediately worried about the Hemi tick, I talked about that more in my last video too, but basically there are two kinds of ticks. One from the lifters, which can be helped using certain oils and with very consistent oil changes, and if it becomes worse, you can upgrade them for probably a few $1,000s. And the other tick is from the exhaust manifold cracking, which could be simpler to repair unless there's a lot of rust under there.
Oh no. I'm speaking in rhyme!
So it's not always a massive deal, and there are ways to help it or fully repair it if you want one of these bad enough. And the probability of these issues is also obviously affected by how the last owner kept the car. As the third to final car, this one's a common recommendation, but not always easy to find on sale, and it's the Pontiac G8 GT with a 6-liter V8 in the front and extra seats in the back for anyone who likes to drive their friends around or has little humans who have to make it to school on time every day. These G8s have a similar rep to the GTOs, only they're probably a little more special for anyone who knows what they are. They look awesome, have great modding potential, I've only heard good things about them, and I wouldn't be surprised if clean ones at least held their value for a long time. Now, I promise this is the last Pontiac, and even though it's the oldest car here, the fronts of these are too good looking for me to not include it, and it's the Pontiac Firebird with the WS6 package. A lot of people already know about these, so I'll keep this quick. They were made from 98 to 02, have LS1 V8s making about 300 horsepower, and seem to cost as low as 15 grand. The really mint condition WS6s can go for 25K or more, but typical good condition ones can definitely be within the 20K budget. Now, as the final and best in my opinion car you can get for under 20,000 bucks, it's the C6 Corvette. And I know, when I first started this list, I was skeptical about finding any of these that were buy-worthy within this budget. But after looking around more seriously than my everyday window shopping, and yes, I know I have a problem, I'm more confident about it. Promising listings seem to start as low as 18,000, and although that is very close to 20, it still counts. An honorable mention for the list is the Ford Thunderbirds, because they're not terrible looking, but definitely don't stand out as a hip sweet ride for the youngsters these days.
I like it, but not a lot. I don't like it.
I also know some guys gonna be like, well, these are all LS cars. And yeah, they mostly are, but that's just the way that crumbles from the cookies. Let me know if you agree that the C6 is the best car here, if I missed any good ones, or if you have any questions. As always, thank you very much for watching. I genuinely do appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.